the bottom line, right?
Hmm.
Like, the financial health. I always wanted to get the brand out there more,
Hmm.
be bigger, grow. Um, you need to have a really strong and well controlled financial structure in place. And it took me a while, and we've continued through our EOS journey, especially to begin to prioritize that more, knowing
Hmm.
that we can then reinvest more. So,
Yeah.
it's while building the brand is great, make sure you're also building a business behind it.
I'm Julie B, and they don't teach this in business school. Hey there, I'm Julie B, and you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School, a podcast where we discuss business ownership lessons learned through experience, not in a classroom. Today, I'm excited to interview Taylor Evans. He's the founder and owner of Rust Belt Recruiting, and I know we are going to have a really great conversation today about some of the lessons he has learned from his own experience as a business owner. Taylor, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm excited about this conversation. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It should be a lot of fun. And I've definitely learned a lot in my 5.5 years that wasn't learned in the classroom. And I don't know if it would have been taught in the classroom. So excited for the conversation today.
I think we're constantly learning. I think we just learned some things
Yeah,
prior to hitting record. So I think it's
absolutely.
yeah, it's great. So Taylor, why don't you just first give us an overview of your business and what you do and what role you play in the business as well?
Absolutely. So, my company is called Rust Belt Recruiting. We also have a separate brand called Workforce Strategy Partners, which is a little bit more consulting oriented. But Rust Belt Recruiting is a recruiting company for the manufacturing industry. And we generally work in about a 2.5 hour radius of Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, where we're located. And so our work takes us into industrial facilities all throughout the region that are usually either growing or having a workforce shortage, and they need a true partner in the process. I started the business on the foundation that what I saw was a lot of agencies were just trying to make a quick buck, and they weren't really helping the employer, the clients that we work with, to fix the systemic issues that they had within their organization.
Hmm.
So, when we work with a company, we are, placing people in permanent roles. We're not a temporary staffing agency or temp to hire. We are finding full-time jobs for people that are, we're putting them there to stay, ideally. And about 50% of our work is on professional roles, and 50% of our work is on production roles. But at the end of the day, the approach and the strategy and the philosophy remains the same. That we are really trying to help companies think through their process in how they are bringing these people into their organizations, so that there's a more successful outcome. So we're highly consultative. We really like to get hands-on with our client and be more of an extension of their talent team if they have one, or be their talent team if they don't, as opposed to just being another vendor in a stack of recruiting agencies trying to fill whatever role that it is, which really just becomes a zero-sum game, as opposed to a much more vibrant outcome when we're able to not only find them the individual, but maybe leave them in a better place relative to their strategies around talent.
It sounds like you really take a holistic approach to the entire talent recruiting and retention. I don't want to say game, but uh, uh, area and
Right?
industries. Yeah.
Call it what it is. It's a
Yeah.
problem these days. It's a crisis,
Yeah.
right? I truly
Yeah.
believe the workforce issues that we're facing as a
Hmm.
company or as a country
Hmm.
are going to impact a lot of companies, and we're feeling it. I mean, in real
Hmm.
time, we're talking about inflation,
Hmm.
cost of living, all of this
Hmm.
very real stuff that people are being impacted by. It trickles right down to our pocketbooks, and in our home lives.
Absolutely. So, Taylor, one thing I love to ask business owners is what is your favorite part about being a business owner?
Yeah. So I think my favorite part is rooted right in why I started the business to begin with. I like the opportunity to do a lot of different things in the course of my day. right? I was personally never really good at just doing one job, and like
Hmm.
that's my personality. Having grown up, was diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. I've
Hmm.
harnessed a lot of that, but
Hmm.
still, I need the room to do, talk to marketing, talk a little bit of finance, talk, of course, sales, just really touch all corners of the business, and also the freedom within that to be creative and bring ideas. Like I'm always thinking, if you
Yeah.
the biggest risk to the team here is giving me like a day by myself, because I just start to like think of things and come up with
Hmm.
new ideas, and all of a sudden flood everyone's plate with a bunch of things that they may not have been looking for me to come up with. But usually they're good, in my mind, right? And fortunately, I have the leadership in place to sometimes say, that's a great idea, Taylor, but we're not prioritizing it today. Or, hey, that's a great idea, let's like get moving on that. So
Hmm.
but it's just the freedom to be creative and make decisions, that I like about being a business owner.
Yeah.
It's
You're a visionary, is what I'm hearing.
absolutely. I can see over your shoulder the book Traction. We are an
Yes.
EOS company.
Hmm.
I've read. I can kind of squint and tell that two of those books are Traction and Good to Great. Um, you know,
Mhm.
Definitely have read both of those, and that journey, that EOS journey, has been interesting for our company.
And it is a journey. I remember the first time I picked up the book Traction. I think it took me about 5 years to read the whole thing and really be able to see how I could use it in my organization. Like I would read parts of it and take it
Yeah.
and put it into the organization. And then I would read like the next chapter and say, oh, I'm not ready for this yet. And so it's a never ending. I think that's one thing that business owners who are just getting started maybe don't understand is that it is a never ending kind of evolution. You may do the same technically the same service for 30 years as a business owner, but the way you do it evolves constantly.
Constantly. Yeah, I was just talking to my wife last night, and I said, we are about to and need to kind of re-enter the 2.0 of our EOS journey. We've been doing it for 2 years. It's been
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
We've seen, quantifiable results in multiple corners of our business. But talking EOS lingo, we need to
Hmm.
reapproach our VTO, our Vision Traction Organizer, where the vision of 2 years ago, I don't know if it necessarily is what the vision is, for the next
Hmm.
3, 5, 10 years. And so we need to sit down and reboot that. And I think it's going to be great. But once you really embrace it and appreciate it and understand it, as you know, it can be the roadmap for your company. If you really
Hmm.
start to have a roadmap for your organization, so that I can walk up to anyone in Rust Belt recruiting and say, this doesn't help us get to this, and they'd be like, well, why are we going? Well, you already knew, because like we share our VTO,
It's
our
on the VTO. It's on the
yeah,
VTO. Yeah.
this is like the direction this company is. What we can share it with people before they even start
Hmm.
working,
Hmm.
right? And they can grasp the vision. So
Yeah.
it's a really powerful tool. So
Yeah.
hopefully Gino Wickman is listening, and knows that we have two advocates for EOS on this call.
You would be maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of my past podcast guests have said, I see traction. I see traction. There's
Yeah,
a reason I
yeah,
keep it
yeah,
back there. It's because it's a
yeah.
conversation starter. And they're also the people who publish traction are publishing my book. So it's also like,
Oh,
hey,
there we go. That's awesome.
yeah, so
Congratulations.
there's a whole ecosystem there on its
Yeah.
own. One thing I've done recently with traction, because I'm a visionary like you, and like I've been going through some basically what I've been saying internally to my staff is we've been riding two buses. I have two businesses, and so now we're trying to like split it into actually two buses. Um, but I have broken down for the new business because it's basically starting a brand new business. I took the VTO and broke it instead of doing, well, I still have the 10-year vision and the 10-year stuff, but instead of the 3 year, 1 year quarterly, I took it quarterly, monthly, weekly. So I made it like a 100 day
Yeah.
VTO, which is something that I'm actually sharing with other people that have heard about it but don't quite understand how to implement it. I was like, that has helped me a lot because, yeah, thinking yearly sometimes is really hard as a business owner.
You and I are really on the same wavelength. We have been bringing in and onboarding some new employees. And I just actually said to our managing director, Nate, the other day, I said, we need to write a 90 or 100-day plan for this individual, just like when someone takes office,
Mm-hmm.
right? Their 100-day plan. What are you going to accomplish in that 100? It's the same thing, right? It's framed a little differently, but like, how are we going to get you up to speed as fast as possible
Mm-hmm.
on whatever it is? And I totally see how that's applicable to getting a new business going
Yeah.
as well. What's my 100-day plan
Mm-hmm.
to get it there? And, to that end, right, I think, one nugget that I would say, and, how do you start a business, right? And it's like, I just firmly believe that even if you're, doing a side hustle or doing whatever it is, if you have intentions for it to really grow into being a business with purpose and meaning and legs under it, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
you got to just start doing forward moving actions
Yeah.
on a daily basis, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I smile. I think of a conversation I had with my father-in-law when I was starting a business. This might have been what they taught you in like business school or
Yeah.
whatever, as opposed to like the real world.
Uh-huh.
I started my business, like I planted my flag. Julie, it took me like, by the way, 10 tries to actually register my business with the state of Ohio. Like I
Mm-hmm.
almost gave up there. Like I think you sent us some pre-questions. Was there ever a point you thought of giving up? It was like, yeah, I just couldn't get the freaking LLC filed
So, yeah.
to sign up. And I was like, never mind. I'm just going to get a job again. Funny to look back on that at this point, because Ohio is actually a pretty business friendly state and the system's super easy. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
had to file an LLC the other week and it's pretty easy. But, I started then troping around town. Look like meeting with lawyers, meeting with accountants, like all these
Mm-hmm.
people who could like support my business. And after
Mm-hmm.
like 2 weeks of that, maybe 3 weeks of that, my father-in-law, who owns a business, was like, Taylor, just make a sale and these people will find you. He was like, you just got to start getting your product out there, see if the market wants it. I was trying to do all this stuff where I was trying to like set up all the back end, but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't need any of these people without a sale. And so, I that message reverberates in my head today. He was right. Those type of partners tend to find you
Mm-hmm.
if you're making money.
Mm-hmm.
Word travels, and we're really blessed to have a lot of good partners, but definitely wouldn't have a need for those partners if we didn't have great clients. So that was some of that early business advice that I took that was super important. So yeah.
Hey, this is Julie B, and you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School. I'm here with Taylor Evans today, the founder and owner of Rust Belt Recruiting. We were just talking about getting started. One thing I'm actually teaching a class to brand new entrepreneurs right now, and my very first class, the lesson was progress, not perfection, because many of them have been thinking about a business for 3, 4, 5 years, and they haven't started it. So, I'm working through all these modules in this provided facilitator instructional manual. And I just keep repeating progress, not perfection, progress, not perfection. And to your point, like going out and getting a sale. But Taylor, you said something about how when you were first starting, how you were trying to do all the back end stuff
Yeah.
and you weren't just going out and selling. How much was fear? How much was the fear of failure playing a part in that, do you think?
Okay, good question. Because let me answer it this way. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that fear has subsided today with
Mm-hmm.
where we are versus 5.5 years ago from where we began. I think fear of failure has in some ways increased more
Mm-hmm.
with having built it which is ironic because a good friend of mine, we were talking the other week and he was like, he owns a recruiting agency as
Mm-hmm.
well. It's, it's not just a one man band. It's got some legs
Hmm.
under it as well. He goes, our businesses, yours and mine, are now built. They like now they're not perfect and they could certainly go away. But he goes,
Hmm.
our businesses are built to where they will run. They are established companies now. And that kind of helped with that. But
Hmm.
like when I think about it, I'm often really running like my fear is not rooted in it is most rooted in like not letting down the great people who work here, like
Yeah.
the opportunities and lives that we support, the families that are tied to this business, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And certainly I believe, like, I did my strengths finders test recently, and one of my five that came up was belief. Like, I genuinely believe in what we do. Like there's
Yeah.
no dollar sign attached to that belief. It's the biggest thing. It is belief in the importance of the impact that we make on the lives of the people that we work with, be it the client or the candidate. So before, the fear was actually somewhat less because I had no proof of concept. I didn't frankly
Yeah.
know if I could do this or not. Like,
You didn't have
but
anything to lose, kind of.
yeah, like what would have happened? I went back,
Yeah.
hey, Mr. Interviewer, I tried to start a business. Clearly, I'm sitting here interviewing for you. It didn't work out. Like that.
Yeah.
That would have been the extent of my fear.
Hmm.
I am comforted in the reality that, like, I think I've worked really hard to build a really good network and relationships where if it didn't work out here,
Hmm.
like if Rust Belt went away, whatever happened, I do
Hmm.
believe I'm employable. I could probably
Hmm.
go get a good job because of the work I've put into this, but it'd be
Hmm.
letting down those people that I work with now that have like really invested their hearts,
Hmm.
their minds, their blood, sweat, and tears into Rust Belt and want to see it grow in the same way that I do.
Hmm.
That's where my fear is rooted
Yeah.
in current day. But to your question, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was just
Yeah.
running on dumb luck. But I've got a great wife who really supported me in those early months of the business, and it allowed us to build something that today we're really proud of and provides a great life for not only my family, but the families of the people that work here as well.
What you said about the feeling of not letting down I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but not letting down the people who believe in you, who work for you, who have bought into your mission and vision. How do you, because I've written a book about burnout, and one of the things that I say that's different for business owners that causes burnout is that I probably need a different word in the book now that we're talking, but I call it a burden. It's the way that I spin it is it's a burden of, you're financially responsible for 3 to 4 entities at all times, your personal self, your business, the people who work for you, and possibly clients, possibly depending on what you do,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're financially responsible for your clients as well. But specifically talking about that, like that people issue or the people part of the motivation. How do you, well, how do you, or can you, have you figured out how to just draw a line at some point? Like it's definitely, because I have that too. Like I tell a couple of my very close team members that I think about their career a lot, and I sometimes with one of them I joke, I'm like, I think about your career probably more than I think about mine, and I really do. How do you separate that though? Like eventually you've got to be able to go home and say, I'm not going to think about, like, I've got to turn that off for right now. Do you have any insights into that? Because I could use those pointers, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, it sounds like we're due to be in the same support group then, because I admittedly I struggle to have an off switch. I
Yeah.
really do. I struggle to have an off switch and walk away from it, and it's one of the perils that I think a lot of manufacturing
Yeah.
business leaders struggle with, probably
Mm-hmm.
especially at the entrepreneurial level, where
Mm-hmm.
by no means is our business on a financially day-to-day or month-to-month basis, but we're still a small business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't bring in outside financing, so this is self-financed from the
Yeah.
ground up, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been an amazing run, and I'm so proud to see how far it's gotten. But at the end of the day, like I look, you mentioned burnout. Like, I've run myself into the ground mentally multiple times. I
Mm-hmm.
actually, Julie, we have yet to, like, when we speak EOS, we have
Mm-hmm.
yet to have our 2-day annual that we were
Mm-hmm.
meant to have in like early December,
Yeah.
because the night before, I got sick as a dog, like
Yeah.
through the night, right? And like
Yeah.
my off switch, even for the first hour I was sick, I was like, I'll just get through this and I will be able to make it to the 2-day annual. And then realizing, nope, this is
Yeah.
bad. This is I can't put I A, can't get the rest of my team sick, but B,
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't do it, right? But it wasn't because like I ate bad food that night or something. When
Yeah.
I look at my calendar and the way I had approached things for those
Yeah.
like few weeks before, I was running so hard,
Yeah.
right? And so self-care, I am whatever the opposite of a poster child is, that is what I am, right? And so like,
Yeah.
um and I struggle to, even as a small business owner, um reward myself, if you
Yeah.
will, right? Like, I struggle to I try to do it. I try to,
Mm-hmm.
like, indulge where is appropriate and within, scope of who and what we are. But even, the topic of compensation is something
Mm-hmm.
I've wrestled with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, because I just operate from the philosophy of every dollar that the Evans family, needs to take. Julie, I've got 4 kids, a wife, and all these things, and so this all costs money,
Yeah.
right? And so I have struggled
Mm-hmm.
with the idea of paying ourselves, but it's like, you talk to advisors and stuff, and they're like, you do still have to pay yourself. Like, don't
Yeah.
I've had a board member who's like, do not play this like startup growth mode compensation narrative in your head
Yeah.
for too long, because you'll never feel right catching yourself up. But to this day, to this hour, to this minute, I still struggle with meaningfully compensating myself, because I want to reinvest that money in the business. But with a wife who's given all the kids we have, a stay-at-home mom, and she's
Yeah.
great at it, like, this is a single income family, and it can be a struggle, and it creates just mental havoc sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that I wish I didn't have.
Yeah.
It's a reality, and but the other side of my brain is saying, don't, keep your costs down. Don't like live like below
Below your stand
means,
or below
like,
the
which is
standard
great,
of
right? Like,
living you
definitely,
want.
like, oh, that's good life advice.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like how that came out. Like, definitely live below your means, if and as you can at any point in life, and you'll be saving money. Like, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
better off. That said, right? Like, I wrestle with that. I wrestle with that
Cool.
topic, and I wrestle, period, with just turning the noggin off, because
Yeah.
and it cuts into a lot. And so,
Mm-hmm.
again, you say the word burnout. Like, if there's burnout, it's my inability to self-regulate, like,
Mm-hmm.
and separate, and
Mm-hmm.
but that's who I am, but I think if I did a straw poll of other visionaries,
Mm-hmm.
especially in small businesses, sure, there's I'm not alone.
We all tend, I think you're not, I'm the same way. And we tend to have two gears, 0 and 100.
Yeah,
And if we're not going 100, we're probably burned out and going 0. Like
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's,
and it's
mhm.
boom or bust, and it's when it becomes unfair, Julie, is I don't even think of myself in this situation when it comes out on the family, or when it comes
Mhm.
out on those who like love you, support you, want
Mm-hmm.
the best for you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's that crash that's hard on everybody, and
Yeah.
let alone yourself, right? And so it's not for the faint of heart. I love what I do. I love
Mm-hmm.
what we do, and I love why we do it above all else. Uh, but it can be extremely challenging to regulate, and that's just again, I'm 5.5 years into owning, building, and growing this business, but I don't know if I'm anywhere close to the to that type of zen. And people will talk to you about things like meditation, right?
Yeah.
Or all these things. I suck at that too,
Yeah.
like
I will
because
tell you my own journey with meditation. For like, I don't know, 13 years, I was absolutely not. I would try it. And I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And because I just couldn't turn my mind off. But what I finally figured out is that I actually bought the Calm app, and guided meditations help me because somebody's telling me what to do, like while I
yeah,
meditate. So I
yeah,
have to listen to what they're telling me to do, and it keeps me from just having all these random thoughts that come up, and I've actually learned how to let go of those in meditation. So it took
yeah.
me about 13 years to figure out how to meditate. So don't don't give
Right.
up on it if you're interested in
Yeah, well,
exploring it.
we'll check in towards the end of the decade, and maybe I'll be in a better place with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's definitely a challenge for me.
Hey, you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School, and I'm Julie B, the host. I'm here with Taylor Evans, and we were just having this great conversation about all things business and turning things off and not being able to stop, and then going from 0 to 100 and burnout and all of those things. But Taylor, I want to ask you some not so maybe not so hard questions, maybe more fun questions. But so what is your biggest win as a business owner so far?
My biggest win as a business owner so far is uh, turning what was an idea into a reality.
Yeah.
I still remember the feeling of taking a pen and writing down the name Rust Belt Recruiting on a notepad when I'm just sitting. I hadn't named that the business yet, but about 2 weeks into it, I knew that's where I wanted the name to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rust Belt Recruiting is now an entity. It is
Mm-hmm.
it is its own thing. It is, and that was always a priority for me. It was never meant to be it was never going to be the Taylor Evans recruiting company.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to be Rust Belt Recruiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love opportunities like this, but you even see little stuff like our podcast. We have our
Mm-hmm.
own podcast, the Rust Belt Rundown, which you can find on all channels as well. There's a quick plug for it. But Paul, our host, is this. It separates my face from just being about me. So I'm super proud that Rust Belt stands alone as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's a thing. It's made up of
Mm-hmm.
people and outputs and wins, and just to again that feeling. And maybe you had this feeling when
Mm-hmm.
you started your business. You're just scratching some of those things. Or even for me, another win is like I stumbled upon a document that I wrote in the first, I could tell by the timestamp on it, in the first like 20 minutes of being in business. I'm like, who are we? What are we going to be?
Yeah.
And I stumbled upon this maybe, month or two ago, sometime recently. But man, those core values were the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
we're still chasing the same vision, the same passion. Like you can go watch the video on our website that we made in November of 18, and the
Mm.
message, still rolling forward is the exact same. And so we stayed true to who we are, but been able to, like you said, someone can be in their business for 30 years, right, delivering
Mm-hmm.
the same service, but they've had to move and grow and make changes.
Yeah.
That's a win for me too. That above all else, like with the ups and downs of the economy and the world in the last 5.5 years, this business still stands strong. It's still delivering results. It's still a meaningful, growing, impact-oriented partner to the companies that we support. that to me is a win. That is the win, right? And I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's something really beautiful in that because I definitely understand as a visionary, like you, when your vision, your dream becomes a reality when you see it, I mean, for without getting too poetic, when you birth that into the world, when you see that take it, you see it, you feel it take its first breath. You almost take its first breath for it, you just feel it happen. I'm getting goosebumps right now as I
Yeah,
talk about this, but
I love that.
yeah, there are things, but I do think that it sounds like we all have these definitions of success, and I always tell people that you can't just define success cannot be only defined by goals. You have to be able to define it by something that you can arrive at and stay in for a little while, because otherwise you're just going to be chasing goals and you're never going to feel successful. And it sounds like where you are right now, you feel like I mean, I get there's all of these things, and you probably never, you're like most entrepreneurs, you feel like you're never really living up to all of the things that you want to live up to. But there is something very beautiful about feeling like I have launched this thing and I'm going to live in this success for a little bit of time because it has grown beyond me, and it's what I wanted it, it's what I wanted it to look like, or maybe it's better than what thought it could look like. That's just a
Yeah,
really beautiful thing.
absolutely. And you said the word poetic, and it's ironic you mentioned that word because Ralph Waldo Emerson is credited with a poem called Success, and in that there's a sentence that says, "To know that one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded." And actually, we've got a little business sized card of that poem. It's the only thing taped to the backsplash
Hmm.
above our stove in our kitchen, but it's there for my kids to see, for everyone to see, and it's a beautiful poem, and it is poetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think about the meaning and the intention of our work and our success. Our success is the hundreds of people that we have put into meaningful employment, right? It's the person who, like, we went and took their wage from here to, it doesn't have to be sky high, but even that meaningful climb up the ladder to know that
Mm-hmm.
success doesn't even have to look like money, but they're more financially stable. Maybe their commute is 15 minutes shorter each day, which is 30 minutes, a day with their kids, and
Mm-hmm.
that's 2.5 hours a week, and that 2.5 hours begins to cascade into the well-being of that child and being with their parent and quality time and just enriching their lives. So, like, success can take so many avenues.
Mm-hmm.
The work we do, right, in recruiting, which can be very lucrative financially, which can give the opportunity to lose sight of the meaning of the work. But the meaning of the work that we do is impacting the lives of others in ways well beyond financial gain. It is truly enriching their lives so that they are better members of their community, so that they have stronger family units,
Mm-hmm.
so that they live better lives, like, and that everyone around them blooms and grows, to make it poetic, right, in a
Yeah.
meaningful and powerful way. That's success. That is success to the nth degree, that we truly make a difference in the lives of people, again, on a daily basis. Or if it's a hiring manager or an owner of
Mm-hmm.
a company who's
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the same seat that I am, and they're
Mm-hmm.
bleary-eyed because they can't figure out how to get good, talented, motivated people into their organization, and we
Mm-hmm.
come alongside them and help them fill those seats, and the company again blooms and grows and continues to rise and be best in class at whatever it is they make. That's
Mm-hmm.
my wins. So it's truly in support of others that we thrive, or certainly I do. And I know that the team around me feels the same way, that the work that we do does make a difference, and we try to keep that as the ethos of our organization, that it's the impact that we make that we call our success or our wins.
Yeah. Oh man, Taylor, we have had a conversation, and I have to start wrapping it up because my editor is always like 30 minutes, Julia. We're already over that. So I have one more question for
All right.
you.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll do a part two at some point. But
that'd be
the
great.
question I ask all business owners is if you were going to teach a class to future business owners or people interested in being business owners, what is the one thing you would really want them to learn in your class?
So, from my experience, I set out very early on, and what I'm super proud of was building a brand. I wanted to build a brand because I wanted
Mm-hmm.
it to have staying power in the local market in the region that we support. I did that at the expense of the bottom line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the financial health. I always wanted to get the brand out there more,
Mm-hmm.
be bigger, grow. Um, you need to have a really strong and well controlled financial structure in place. And it took me a while, and we've continued through our EOS journey, especially to begin to prioritize that more, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that we can then reinvest more. So,
Yeah.
it's while building the brand is great, um, make sure you're also building a business behind it. Both can happen. I was
Mm-hmm.
just eager to get our name out there, build a brand, and I have no regrets with that. But if I was doing a 2.0, I would definitely be more disciplined. The other one was, and I really, really, really think this is important, I was
Mm-hmm.
highly motivated to a lot of young entrepreneurs, especially. If you and I got lunch today,
Mm-hmm.
you'd say, how many people work for you?
Yeah.
And a young business leader will start to think, or at least I did, that that's the measure of success.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried really hard to hire a lot of people, and this ties
Mm-hmm.
back to that financial thing.
Yeah.
We were bringing in work that wasn't always well aligned with who and what we are, and
Mm-hmm.
then we brought in manpower, recruiters and team members to work on that work, and it was not work that they could be successful
Yeah.
in filling roles for or whatever, and then that everybody loses in that situation, including your financial health of your business. So
Yeah.
we've been bigger. We're now a little
Mm-hmm.
smaller, but we're
Mm-hmm.
on a much more sustained and strategic growth trajectory now
Mm-hmm.
than we've ever been before, and
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's winning because of it. But I was trying too hard to grow that head count to
Yeah.
prove something to amongst others, myself. But
Mm-hmm.
now it takes patience. So I'm excited to keep building the team and getting good people in here, but we're going to do
Yeah.
it a lot more strategically and thoughtfully than maybe I did for in the first couple of years of the business.
I think that's a pitfall a lot of business owners fall into is they start to judge their own worth or success by the number of people they have on their payroll
Yeah,
or even, key contractors, the number of people who are working for them. And that is fantastic advice because if you've been in business for, if you've kind of done that path or you've had employees, that how hard that is to
yeah,
manage and to as especially as a small business owner to make sure that everybody is getting what they need from that individual and that individual is getting what they need from the company, that it's mutually beneficial relationship. So just hiring to feel like you're worth something is definitely I've seen a lot of business owners do that as well. And I cringe when I hear a new business owner who just keeps hiring people to like fix problems. And I've done that. I've actually hired people in the past to fix problems that I should not have hired for. And that's part of that lesson too, and part
yeah.
of what was driving me is I wanted to say I had so many employees. And
Right.
now it's like that's not a judge of success. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
great piece of advice.
It's great if you have it, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also great opportunity to embrace fractional and contract workforce,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're creating a new role for the
Mm-hmm.
first time. Like, do you for sure have 40 hours worth of work for this person,
Mm-hmm.
like a full-time job, or
Mm-hmm.
could you find someone who can do it in a fractional manner, actually build the infrastructure of the role,
Mm-hmm.
and then increase into a full-time capacity? It's a safer way than just saying,
Yeah.
okay, show up and you're full-time now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
there's so much to be learned, and you know um gosh, I can't wait to have the experience you do, just the number of years and in being in and leading a business. But I would say 5.5 years has taught me a lot of lessons, and I'm glad I did it boots on the ground while earning money rather than just the traditional route of business school.
Yeah.
And it's been good.
Yeah, I've so enjoyed this conversation. I know the business owners, entrepreneurs who are going to listen to it as well are going to get so much out of it. I just want to thank you again for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
And that is a wrap on this episode, but please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcasting app so that you don't miss out on future conversations. I'm Julie B, and they don't teach this in business school.